Welcome to our study called Sin at the Door. We're looking at Genesis chapter 4. Today we're looking at verses 1 and 2. And we'll see that God gives children. Now Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord. And again she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain a worker of the ground. First, we see that there is still life after the curse. Remember what has just occurred in the story. When Adam and Eve sinned, they knew that they were naked. There was an emotional and spiritual barrier between the two. This is represented physically by the fig leaves that they used to cover themselves. In the pronouncement of the curse, God made it clear that there were always going to be relationship problems between the man and the woman. And yet we read here that Adam knew Eve. Despite the horrible consequences of their sin, God's mercy and blessings continue. The word knew here is important. It's not just a euphemism for the sexual act, but it suggests personal, close intimacy. Because Adam knew Eve. Eve began to have the promised offspring then. God said that Eve would have offspring, and here we find Eve pregnant. Eve gives birth to a boy and declares, I have gotten a man. Did she do it all by herself? No. She says, with the help of the Lord. Cain's name is a play on words, for his name sounds like have gotten in Hebrew. Eve did not name her child, look at what I did, or look at what we created. She acknowledged that God gave her the child. Now, sometime later, Eve bore Cain's brother Abel. And Abel means vanity or breath, and sometimes something like a mist that quickly evaporates. A very fitting name for a man who would be the first victim of murder. In these first two verses of this chapter, it's clear that Adam and Eve are not on their own. They are not in charge of themselves or their family. Eve recognized that God's sovereignty was still in effect. And that leads us to the next scene of our story, where God rejects wrong worship.